So the One Piece live action was great, but is there other good live action materials out there? Good adaptations from shows that we once loved? Movies from Japan maybe? Or, well, series? There is. And most of them kind of suck. Most of them are actually kind of gruesome. Oh, in a way, they kind of destroy the fanbase by looking at it. This is stuff like Attack on Titan, Parasite, who actually got 2 adaptations. One Japanese, which sucked, and then one Korean one later on, which actually turned out to be great. There's stuff like Tokyo Ghoul that also ended up getting an actual adaptation, and that also sucked. But sometimes Japan actually hits home with their movies. We have a live action adaptation, such as I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, that turned out incredibly well. We have stuff like Death Note that got 3 adaptations. 2 not so good, and then 1 actually pretty good. Thank you so much Hollywood and Netflix for that one. We definitely need that. But then sometimes we get weird adaptations that kind of hits a middle ground, such as Bokuga Inaimachi, or in English, Erased. I came home from school one day and I sat down and turned on my TV, and on Netflix itself it was like, hey, I know you've been watching Beastars and all this type of stuff lately. Here's a recommendation to you, a live action adaptation of Erased. And I saw it and it looked kind of good. Like, I was kind of intrigued. And I vividly remember Erased being very controversial when it came out because the actual villain is in the opening. If you pause at the right moment, people just really didn't like the ending. I personally really enjoyed it up until the last episode, give or take. So I thought I'd give it a shot. So I clicked play and I just never put it down. Is this one of the best shows I've ever watched? Definitely not. But usually when I watch some of these live action adaptations like Tokyo Ghoul or Attack on Titan, or for that matter Fullmetal Alchemist, the acting is very overly done, which is typical Japanese. The animation sucks, or the CGI is so bad that you kind of just want to throw up. But this doesn't really need any CGI, since there's not really any superpowers in it, and it's a slice of life story. Kinda, maybe not. That's odd. And while stuff like One Piece finally got the adaptation of CGI correctly, I do think there's a lot of good material that still needs a good adaptation. Like, as an example, Aonofraku, Blue Flag. This is a great show, and this could definitely just be adapted into a live action without actually having to do much. But it would require actual good actors, and if there's one thing Japan has a lot of, it is actual good actors. They do all act in this very Asian style, like overly dramatic, kind of overplaying. You just kind of have to get used to that. If you're used to watching a lot of K-dramas, you're probably used to it. And it's just how they do stuff there. It's the same of when you sit down to watch a Bollywood movie. It's kind of different. It's good, but in like a different vibe. And this is kind of the same thing. But I remember finishing the show and thinking that it was kind of akin and very one-to-one with the manga. So I went back and checked. I reread the manga. This was the first manga I actually bought in Japanese. I bought it like my first day in Japan at my local book off. Not because I could read it at the time. I definitely could not. I had no fucking idea what I was doing. But this is a show that has a very deep meaning to me. The show came out at a time in my life where it spoke to me a lot deeper than it probably should have. Also, the opening is great. It's by Asian Kung Fu Generation, which is one of my favorite Japanese artists. It's so much so that I kind of have to own all their albums on vinyl. This is just one of them. But yeah, it's very good. It's not the best show I've ever seen. But in a world of shitty adaptation, bad CGI, and just very sloppy adaptation with a money grab incentive, I think this actually has some heart. Granted, it is made by Netflix, so it's a giant corporation in the end, and they don't really care about either you or me. It has heart to it compared to Parasite, and especially compared to stuff like Fullmetal Alchemist and, well, Attack on Titan. If you haven't seen them, instead of the Titans actually being scary and horrifying, they're just giant babies running around, and it's kind of hilarious, but also like this was supposed to be the dramatic Attack on Titan that everyone loved. Also, if you just started learning Japanese, it's a good show to start with, especially if you don't want to read manga and you don't want to read novels. I'm gonna be honest, it takes some time to get into that. Well, there isn't any visuals in novels. There are some in manga. You do have to read kanji, and like tone and intonation is not really there. So from my point of view, watching shows or movies is the best way to actually start your Japanese learning. So I would definitely recommend it for that. When you finish with that, well, I would of course recommend I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. I don't have this in Japanese. This is the English omnibus, and from what I remember, it's actually based on a light novel originally, but it's great. And you should definitely watch it and give it a go. In the modern years, there's a lot of great adaptations from manga or anime into actual real-life adaptations, and that's great. We have stuff like Yu Hakusho and the One Piece series. But before that, it was kind of a mess. Really horrible. I don't know if you guys saw the Dragon Ball movie. This was like infamous when I was growing up for being the worst thing on earth. But I'm uncertain if new anime fans have actually watched it. You shouldn't. It's not worth your time. So much so that the actual director has been apologizing for it for years and is still getting active hate from the fan base. But yeah, Boku ga Inaimachi. Please, go watch it. It's like 8 episodes if I recall correctly, one of the best shows I watched in a long time. I kind of just swallowed it up. I knew the premise already, so like it didn't really surprise me when the plot twist came. This was huge when it came out originally. Thank you guys so much for watching. My next video is going to be about Yakuza no Neverando, because I just finished the actual manga. There's some stuff that they could definitely improve, not in the manga, but definitely in the anime. They definitely fucked that up royally.